All right, hi guys. I wanted to go over how we're going to do our JavaScript assignments. So this is just a dummy repository I made. This would be after you have forked your assignment. We're going to clone this on our own computer. So we're going to get the address, go into VS Code, in the command palette, git clone, paste our address, and I'm just going to pick a folder I have here. And once it's cloned, I want to open the repository. And yes, I trust myself. Okay, and I can see the README file in my test repository. So we're going to treat these just like any other web programming assignment. So we're going to make an index.html page. We will need some web boilerplate in there. Since we're mostly just doing JavaScript, you don't need to make a bunch of folders, but you can if you want to be consistent in how you're doing things. I'm just going to make a script.js file, and just for completeness, we would usually have a style, and I would have that file there. In my index, if I had a style sheet, then I would link it, and that's already called style CSS, and I would add in a script, and we're going to have our script.js file, and we can save that. So that's kind of a setup. We're going to end up working in this JavaScript file, but as we do this work, we're going to check it on a web browser. So we're going to open our index.html with the live server so that we can see that. And there is my document. And this is where things are going to be a little bit different. We really haven't worked in a JavaScript file up to this point. If we try something out, we can hit that and save it, Control S. And just like before, when we have live server going, it's going to reserve the page, and that actually opens up an alert box that says hello, and that's okay. But we aren't going to do a lot of things with alerts because it's pretty clunky and inefficient. So we're actually going to work in what they call the console. So we're going to put this statement that says console log. It's quite similar to what we were doing in Python and printing things so we could see it. And if I save that, you'll notice that there's nothing there. And that's because this isn't HTML, it's on the console. So in Chrome, you can either go to the menu, More Tools, and Developer Tools. You'll see there's a keyboard shortcut there, Control-Shift-I. There's also another shortcut, is the F12 key. So if I hit F12, which I just did, you'll see that now this prints out hello. And my Chrome, I've tried to look up why do I have some of these extra statements, And I even have some error statements that come up sometimes, and from my own Googling, I discovered that sometimes some Chrome extensions can print out some extra information, so I tried to turn some things off, and that did get rid of some of it. Honestly, I don't know why I'm getting these, but my console is working. This console can actually execute JavaScript code. So if I go to the prompt here and type this in and hit enter, you'll see that it executes. So we saw something very similar in the Python shell. We could execute statements directly in there. You can actually try out JavaScript directly here in the console. And you'll notice there's a lot of tabs here. This we've already been looking at with our pages. So there's the body, and there's the CSS styles that go along with things. But we're mostly concerned about this second tab called console. And that's where we're going to do a lot of our work. So just set this up just like you would any other web programming assignment. And once you are, and I guess once you're done with your assignment, this would have been an easy one, then we're going to push this back up to our repository. So I'm going to go to my version control tab and put in a commit message. And once those commit changes, I've noticed I've started getting this new button says to sync changes. I think that's the exact same thing as going to the ellipses and going to pull push and going to hit sync, but I'm just going to push my button there and hit OK. Saved me a little bit of menu searching. I'll take it. And GitHub's making me sign in. Let's see where it goes. Okay, and hopefully when I go back to this page and refresh it, there are my files. So if we look at that, there's our HTML page, and now our JavaScript page will have something in there. And if we go to settings, we can turn on our GitHub Pages just like we did before. We're going to use the main branch and hit save. And hopefully in a couple minutes, this will serve our page up to us. We'll give it a couple minutes to get recognized, and there's our blank page. So the thing that's handy about this is with that address, I can actually go into the console. So I'll try hitting Control-Shift-I to open up the console, and you'll see there is my output hello. So we're going to do these assignments with console log statements so that when I go in and look at your console, then I can see the output that's supposed to be there. So I guess that's just a little short demonstration of how we can set this up just like a regular web assignment, but now we're going to be working in our JavaScript, and we're going to spend a lot more time here in the console seeing what JavaScript does before we get into actually manipulating things on the actual web page, which we'll be looking at next week. A couple things that I did want to show you. There's a lot of things that we can put in here. I have a few statements. Just trying some things out. So you'll see I have several different log statements here. We've got some string, we've got numbers, booleans. Here we've got a variable that we've defined. You can use that just like you would and print out the variable. Here we have an array. You'll notice that looks like a list in Python. In JavaScript, those are known as arrays. And here we have an object. It looks like a dictionary in Python, but in JavaScript, they're just called an object. And it can print out a table. And if I save this, it's going to go back to my live server document, and you'll see it printed out all these different things. And you can see here it actually gives us the elements of the array. Here it gives us the members in the object. So that's pretty handy. There's a couple other things we can try. You can create error messages. And that's going to print out in red. There's my error message. We can create a warning. You'll see there's my warning. And one other thing I saw on a video, which I thought was pretty interesting, was a timer. You can actually time how long things take to execute. And in this piece of code, you can set up the beginning of the code block, and this is just a string to identify the block that you're interested in timing. I have some lines of code. Little shortcut I learned in some of our other videos is using Shift-Alt down arrow to copy a line. So if I was in that line and I said Shift-Alt and down arrow, that just copies that line down one. And also you can comment, you can hit tab to move things over. This just kind of set off the code block and it's tabbed over. But if I save this now, you'll see that after my other lines of code, here is this, and I get how much time it took to execute these lines of code. It took 0.406 milliseconds. So that's some interesting stuff that we can do in JavaScript. Something else that is interesting to note, comments are a double slash. And that's an inline comment, so if you put it at the end of a line of code, it's not going to affect anything. And you'll notice that in my console, nothing has changed because these comments don't get recognized. And you can also do a block comment, and that's a / and an asterisk. And it will make a comment that goes however many lines fall in between the opening and closing comment sections there. So those are some good things to note about working with JavaScript. I'm excited to work with you guys on this. This is an area where I am still trying to make progress myself, so I keep learning more, and I hope you enjoy discovering these new things, as I also like learning how to do some new things. So I'm hoping we can all make some progress this semester. So let me know if you have any questions, and have a good day.